How's it going, everyone? Saintsfan back again with another GTA 5 video, and today I'm going to be talking about the Infernus Classic and the Turismo Classic. Now, even though they aren't released, and I don't think they will be released for a week or two, if you're on PC, modders actually can spawn them in online. Now, you can't store them in your garage, but you can take them around and test them, and that's what I actually did, because someone in my lobby did spawn a bunch of cars in, so I asked him if we could test some stuff out, and he did say yes. So that's what we're doing in this video. We'll be testing out the Infernus Classic and the Turismo Classic against some other sports classic vehicles, and at the end of this video, I did a test comparing the Infernus Classic versus the regular Infernus and the Turismo Classic versus the regular Turismo, and I think the results are gonna surprise you. Now, by now, we already know the amount of money these vehicles will cost. The Turismo Classic is gonna be like 700-something thousand, and the Infernus is gonna be around 900,000. And we also know all of the customization because, like I said, we can spawn these in on PC. So in single player, if you spawn them in, you can bring them to the custom shop and check out all the customization. I already did a video on that, so if you haven't checked that out, I will leave a link in the description. But the one thing I hadn't done and wanted to know more about was how they performed. Because ultimately, the performance of a vehicle is like what people judge it on. So if it doesn't perform well, then many people aren't going to buy it. Now, with these classic cars, that might have been not as important just because of the nostalgia factor, because the Turismo Classic here and the Infernus Classic, you know, you got some memories of some older, or of these cars in older GTA games, so you might want to buy them regardless of their performance. But it's safe to say that these cars, when you do buy them, you will not be disappointed by their performance. If anything, you are going to be shocked. Now, what you're seeing in the gameplay are the airport tests that I always run. They're not official, obviously. This is just to determine what these cars will look like or how they will handle in a free mode environment where there's all kind of issues, you know, lag, you got the weather and whatever the case may be. And you get an idea of the acceleration and the top speed as well. And you can just tell right off the bat, I'm in the Turismo here, it is incredible. I was not expecting this performance out of this car when I first started the tests. You can see we are going against some other sports classic vehicles in these first few tests. It is the Turismo Classic, the Infernus Classic against the Z-Type, the Sterling GT, and I believe the Monroe. I think that's what the third vehicle is. And it blows them out of the water, which is kind of, I don't know, kind of weird how these cars aren't, at least it looks like, they're not competitive in the racing class. Now, maybe their traction and handling isn't as good, so maybe the lap times will be a little bit more competitive, but at least just for this right here, I mean, these cars are incredible. Now, I did switch to the Infernus Classic here just so you can see what it looks like and how the tests go when I was driving. So, you know, there's some sort of constant here. I'm the driver using the same controller, going at the same time, you know, once the grenade explodes. And you can see, while the Turismo still is a little bit faster, you can see my friend does overtake me here in a second, the Infernus is still up there. Like, it's not a bad car by any means. So, honestly, both of these cars are almost must-buys, you know. And there's actually something a little bit interesting about the Infernus Classic. It may happen on the Turismo, but I noticed it more on the Infernus. I'll talk about that when I get into the Infernus Classic versus the regular Infernus test. This next one is a test that goes from one airstrip to the other, so we do the turn so we can test a little bit more of the top speed. And like I said, these two cars, I mean, they're I don't want to say neck and neck, but they are close. And when I look back, you can just see how far the top end sport classic cars are compared to these new sport classic cars. So it'll definitely be interesting when it comes to racing, but my bet is that most people don't really race in the sports classic class. So you will be using these cars mainly in free mode, and that's obviously, you know, what most of the stuff is going to come down to. Now, another test we did was me in the Sterling GT, which is, I believe, the best sport classic car in the game. And you can see with me as the constant driver, it may not be as bad as the other tests, but still, I get smoked pretty easily by those new two vehicles. So I think if you are a fan of sport classic cars, the two cars, the Turismo and the Infernus Classic, are must-buys, you know, not only for the nostalgia reasons, but for the performance reasons. I mean, like I said, I was not expecting this, and this is really shocking to me because Rockstar normally, like I said, they keep stuff competitive. But nothing was more shocking than when I tested it against these supercars, the Infernus and the Turismo. So in this first test, ignore the Infernus real quick. just the Turismo against the Turismo Classic. I'm in the Turismo Classic, and this is incredible. A sports classic car is keeping up. It's not going to beat the Turismo, but it is keeping up with the Turismo and even the regular Infernus. That is incredible to me. One of my main gripes with these cars being in the sports classic class, I was afraid that they wouldn't be fast, that they wouldn't be good in terms of performance. But Rockstar, I guess they took all the performance away from the Ruston and gave it to these two cars, because here again you can see the Turismo Classic is basically a car's length behind the regular Turismo, which is incredible for it being a sports classic, and the other one being a relatively good supercar. Now, in these final two tests, this is where it got a little interesting. So this is the Infernus versus the Infernus Classic. And in the short stretch here, the Infernus does actually beat the Infernus Classic by a little bit more than the Turismo beat the Turismo Classic. So the Infernus Classic, in, you know, a short distance here, it's not that great compared to the regular Infernus. But what actually happens when we did the full test from one side of the airport to the other around the turn, since you get a little bit of a better test or idea of how the top speed works, what actually happened with the Infernus Classic was it overpassed the Infernus. And the reason that actually happened was because of the suspension glitch. You can actually hear the Infernus Classic do that suspension glitch where it makes the noise and then your car goes faster. I know this has happened with a number of cars that Rockstar have released in the past, but I would have thought by now they would have fixed that glitch, but it looks like they have not. So the Infernus Classic, if you're just doing top speed, it might not actually be that bad of a vehicle. But that is the tests, or those are all the tests. I think these are some really damn good cars. Like, I'm actually kind of feeling a little bit better now that the Ruston has come out and it's not that great. I feel like they put all their time and effort into the classic cars, which I can totally understand. And I definitely, I think I would rather the classic cars anyway. So let me know in the comments what you think. Obviously, you guys probably don't have these in online yet, but for $700,000 and $900,000 respectively, that is some damn good performance, for the money value. So let me know in the comments, which one do you plan on buying, if not both? And do you really care that these cars may break the sports classic class? I mean, like I said, for me as a racer of usually just sport cars or supercars, it doesn't really matter to me because I don't ever race in the sport classic class. So I'm fine with it, but I know there are people out there, the hardcore racers that do, so that might be a little upsetting to you guys. But anyway, let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching. Please drop the video a like if you did enjoy, subscribe for more awesome GTA content, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.